Hello, my name's Ed Frawley. I've got a good question that came into our website through our question and answer on the front page of Leerburg.com. And it came through the Ask Cindy portal. This one is a question on using a remote collar on a young sheep herding dog. And probably 99.9% of the people out there that watch this have no interest in training sheep herding dogs, but I kind of do because I did some training videos in Germany with a man named Carl Fuller, Kirschenthal Kennels, back in the late 80s, early 90s. So I spent a lot of time in Germany with him. And the Germans use one style of training called tending, and I won't go into that, but for a while I was a sheep herding judge, and it just got to be too much and I had to stop. But let me read this question, because you might find it interesting, because a lot of it can apply to managing young dogs that have other problems. It doesn't need to be sheep herding. I've recently purchased a replacement large guardian dog pup as our guardians are starting to get older. This new pup is half English Mastiff and half imported, and I can't say this name, I would only guess, G-U-M-P-R, Gumper? I haven't heard of that. He's 3 months old. He's usually good around coming back to me when we are out feeding the livestock. He lives in 1/3 of our small sheep barn 24/7. The sheep live in 2/3. He's getting to that playful chasing age. If the sheep don't run, everything is fine. But I had one incident where the sheep started running and he gave chase. I don't think a long line would work because the sheep are close to me when they go out to feed. Do you think an e-collar would work to enforce no if and when this happens again? He will eventually be expected to live with and guard the sheep. We live in an apex predator area. I can see where someone would think that a remote collar might be a good idea, but it's not. One of the things that you have to be careful of is if you accidentally stimulate a young puppy at the wrong time and it doesn't know what it's getting stimulated for, if it thinks it's getting stimulated because of the sheep or because of sheep, you really may create problems with this young dog. There's such a thing as superstitious association when using remote collars. And that is, and I'll use an example of somebody that wants to stop their dog from digging up some plants in their garden. Let's use a rose bush. And the dog goes over and digs it up, and you're hiding in the house and you give the dog stimulation and the dog jumps this high because you had cranked it up so hard and you think that's how it's going to stop it. That's not how it works. That dog is going to look at that rose bush and think that is got landmines around it and it's not going to go near it again. But it doesn't have landmines over at that rose bush or those flowers over there or that garbage over there. It's not the way to do it. As far as this lady goes, the way to do it is the long line. And I will tell you this, in all the time that I worked with Carl Fuller in Germany, he had his trained dogs that would go out and be with the sheep, and then he had his young dogs, that young dog, always one dog with him, and it would be on a line. And when I saw him, it was always a short line, but occasionally it would go to a long line. But he doesn't let young puppies like this go out and run with the adult dogs, and for a long, long, long time. I'm not going to tell you how long, quite frankly, because I can't remember. But I can tell you that these weren't small puppies. The young dogs that Carl was training when I was with him, all looked to be over a year old. So I would not recommend you jump the gun on this. Take the time it takes to do this thing right. I think what you would be way better off doing is keep your dog on either a short line or a long line before you allowed that dog to be free within the sheep. And I would do it for months, many months, before I would let him go. It doesn't sound like your older dogs are on the deathbed, so you have the time to do this. And if you're out with it and the sheep take off, you are able to show the dog that you're not happy with that. And how you do that is you're going to have to correct the dog. How hard do you correct him? This is important for new people to understand too. The correction should be hard enough to get a behavior change, but not so hard that it's abusive to the dog. A lot of people make the mistake of overcorrecting a dog. All you want to do is to get a behavior change, and if you just focus on that, you're going to come out and be okay.